do have a question I'd like to put out here, and of course, both of you, please feel free to give your thoughts on this. They're saying I'm basically an army of one, and we have a large volume of assessments. So, is there something I can do to increase my throughput?
That's generally, I'll take that, Olga. You work for a much larger institutions. Hopefully, resource contention is not a problem for you at all. I'm kidding.
You would think.
I'm kidding. No, but it's definitely a huge challenge, right? Because I think what ends up happening is that most people get put in a situation where they have to run, maintain, and operate this management system that is enabling this third-party risk management program that has been designed, or they're relying on a best practices-based approach, maybe using a standardized way across a third-party base to calculate inherent risk, and then perhaps use a standardized questionnaire with a controls framework behind it to manage due diligence. But ultimately, the person who's responsible, specifically on the second line, tends to be a single person. This happens in smaller organizations, community banks, and within the financial services industry. I know for a fact that happens. And so I think ultimately it does boil down to the management system or the technology of the three stools: people, process, and technology. Is the technology stool, where it really comes down to how much automation you can incorporate in your execution of your program, whether it comes from the system's ability to auto calculate, to enable you to use best practices, both from a content and a framework standpoint, to do things like auto creation of issues based on problems that you've identified during due diligence, and bringing it full circle from a monitoring standpoint specifically, because it's never a one and done thing. From a monitoring standpoint, perhaps improving cycle times dramatically by, instead of doing direct outreach to the third parties every time, which is a cycle time destructive approach. Sometimes it is imperative, but other times you could use external content as proxies for certain risk areas, from a due diligence standpoint, specifically in cyber, financial viability, credit risk, etc. There are a lot of content providers out there that you could use, even from an ABAC standpoint, right? And so external content. And then ultimately, I know of many organizations that tend to, ironically, outsource assessments, and so, in our field. But then there are, again, third parties, there are companies that can help you follow your due diligence protocol. And what you're really doing is bringing them in to get scale, right? Because you have so many that you have to do, your throughput requirements are so large that, again, technology solutions need to enable that. So that would be my response to that question. Hopefully that made sense.
Olga, do you have any thoughts before we move on?
No, technology is definitely our friend. So I completely agree with that. Maybe I would just add that also being very thoughtful about what it means to be a risk-based approach. Not one size fits all. If you have a large volume of suppliers that you pay, a lot of invoices,
very good point.
You definitely want to build into your technology the intelligence to identify what is posing risk and requires work and attention and resources, and what does not pose material amount of risk and
Absolutely.
can kind of be streamlined. So, but it's all supported by technology.